Love.
What is up, everybody? It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock. We got a Coors Field game, which means the Cardinals, once again, massively popular. They are more than twice the ownership of any other offense that we have on the entire slate. We got some high-end pitchers to break down as well. So Eric and I are going to lead you guys through the entire slate. Do us favors, you're watching here. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are a Stokastic sub, ask any questions you have over the course of the show. Just tag me in Discord. Be on the lookout for those questions to answer any of them. If you are not a Stokastic sub, what are you waiting for? Links to sign up down below in the YouTube description box. Number of big winners as of late, and you could be the next one as well. So links down below. Also consider our link join program. So if you want to know the most cost-effective way to sign up for any of our packages, well, free. That's a pretty good price point. And if you sign up for any of our partners here on screen through the link down below in the YouTube description box, you get one free month of a single sports Sims package of your choosing for each one of our partners that you sign up for. The newest one that we have is Wanna Parlay, and they also have a match deposit bonus offer of up to $250. So get $250 in bonus money over there for signing up, and then also a free month of Stokastic Sims. Pretty good deal. Take advantage of it. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Just getting some final bets in here as well as we're getting going. Feel good about this slate. I say that full well knowing that a lot of my fate and the fate of the universe hinges on the worst team in baseball. So that's always a great feeling. Outside of that, I feel pretty confident about this slate, about this betting slate. And let's start breaking it down from a DFS angle. Cause I mean, we do have some cheap St. Louis bats at the back end of that lineup to kind of make things easy, but that's for cash games. Maybe mix one or two into some single entry if we absolutely have to. But I'm ready to start breaking it down.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to it then. And it's a really interesting pitching slate because, I mean, you guys will see here, I haven't made any adjustments to the Sims, just favored my top 150 5-man stacks that came out of the Sims. And you will see here Eric, very minimal amount of pitchers in the pitcher pool. There are a few guys that are pulling a bunch of ownership. You've got, and they're all expensive too. Logan Gilbert, he is nearly 50% owned. Jacob deGrom, just over 40% owned. Yamamoto is just over 30% owned. And you don't get another pitcher on the slate more than 20% owned. And in fact, as far as exposure goes in the Sims here, I ended up getting to, you guys could see here on screen, 26% of Scherzer, sub 10% of Erod, 2 lineups of JT Ginn, 2 of Frankie Montas, and that's it. So I want to ask you this question. Assuming the majority of the people watching the show are going to be playing 1 to 5 lineups, do they even need to roster a pitcher outside of Gilbert, deGrom, or Yamamoto?
No, but I would say there's 2 pitchers that I have a ton of interest in. And in large field, I'm going to have a lot of that are not those 3. So, if you're playing one lineup, getting away from Gilbert feels pretty dumb. DeGrom is obviously in a great spot at home against the Athletics. Yamamoto against my Twins, there are strikeouts galore to be had. The Yamamoto one, again, I bring this up all the time with him. There are just some concerning things that have stood out to me for the last month plus, and we've been able to take advantage of. I bet his over-earned runs a couple of times. Nothing crazy. I haven't lunged after him, but Yamamoto was a guy that early in this season I was betting a lot, and I think I got lucky with him and backing him as much as I did. Now, this is unquestionably an awesome spot taking on the Twins, but if you're building out 2-3 lineups, Scherzer's price savings $7,500, and then going all the way to the tippy top, which we'll talk about later on. I think those are very, very intriguing options. But if you're building one lineup, you probably don't need to get away from 2 of those 3 for sure.
Can I wager a guess on who it is that you like who isn't one of the top end pitchers?
Yes.
Is it Dick Mountain?
It's not Dick Mountain, but I bet Dick Mountain. I'm just an absolute moron.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Rich Hill, a.k.a. Dick Mountain, there was a very brief point in time where the MLB let players go by, it was like nickname night or something like that, where players could go by whatever nickname they wanted to, just had to be approved by the league. So Rich Hill went with Mountain, and it got approved. Not many people, I think, thought too much of it. The context behind Mountain is Rich Hill instead of Rich Hill, Dick Mountain. So that was the Dick Mountain moniker, how it ended up coming about. And really one of the better nicknames in all the sports history. He is back today. Did you have any clue that he was still signed to some sort of baseball payroll? He's 1 billion years old.
Yeah, so I didn't know he was on the AAA system, and then last night I'm looking through it, I'm like, why the hell is, because you can like change the date in Fangraphs. If you didn't know, people, you're able to like go to the top bar and you can change the date to really get all the information that you need to in the pictures. And that's how I start my process. I export that data and then I kind of work with it on my own night before. But it's like, why the hell is Rich Hill the projected starter? I had no idea. And for the Kansas City Royals, I mean, it was just like as random as it gets. He's 45 years old. He's got like an 11K per nine in AAA this season. So I want you to know that. But he pitched 3 days ago. He pitched on the 19th, man. I don't think he's long for this one. So from a DFS angle, no. But I do think like 3-4 innings with the back end of this Cubs lineup, there are enough strikeouts available to over 2.5. Ended up being a click. I wasn't strong enough to play it individually, so I did parlay it like a coward, like the absolute coward that I am, but I have zero DFS interest.
Yeah, I really just wanted to shoehorn in a nickname that I thought was that I find to be
As
funny. Do you know how long he has been employed as a professional baseball pitcher?
It's been over 24 years. I know that.
Just about. His professional debut was in low A ball in 2002. So it is not quite 24 years, but 20, yeah, so you're about right there. But yeah, 23 years ago was when he first started pitching as a professional and still going at 45 years old. He must really like it to be willing to trek in the minor leagues at 45 years old when he's made, not like hundreds of millions of dollars, but certainly enough money where he doesn't have to do this, who doesn't want to. So, yes, Steve McGee in chat saying here he graduated from high school. It's been a minute. So let's get to talking about these pitchers. And clearly the focus is going to be on the high end. And I think we just talk about these pitchers individually, but then also fair to say that cash games are only picking 2 out of these 3 pitchers and you're ignoring the lower end pitchers. So with that in mind, who's the pitcher you were leaving out of cash games? And then presumably, I assume that's also your least favorite for tournaments.
Yeah, Yamamoto. You've got a 3 implied total for Jacob deGrom in Vegas. It's a little bit higher for Yamamoto. You're outdoors. It's a little bit steamy. It's pretty mild for LA right now. So Yamamoto, it's an all right pitching environment, but you always get a little bit of that sea breeze in the summer going out in Dodger Stadium. Plays a little bit more hitter friendly. Obviously, it is summer in LA, but I definitely think Jacob deGrom inside Arlington in a dome, 3 implied run total. And then the Athletics, they've just been striking out a gobsmack ton lately. And Nick Kurtz, as much as I love him, I mean, you saw what he did yesterday, just made me more money. I love him so much. Do not have a path to having anybody who doesn't strike out, because Nick Kurtz, 30+% strikeout rate, that's going to continue. Brent Rooker, he's immune to hitting the baseball at times too, which is just random, but definitely think he's got the better strikeout matchup of the two when you take into account the park environment.
Yeah, especially for cash games, I'll say. So number one for me is clearly Logan Gilbert. It's Logan Gilbert, and then there's a drop off where you get to deGrom and you get to Yamamoto. And if we're talking about cash games to start, I'll let the ownership be the tiebreaker between the two, with deGrom pulling about 10% more ownership than Yamamoto. And then also running stuff through the Sims, I do get kind of a comparable amount of deGrom and Yamamoto. So I'm just going to lean towards deGrom as being the guy who I feel a little bit better about. But to me, really, it's Logan Gilbert, and then just kind of splitting exposure between deGrom and Yamamoto. Overall, deGrom has had a fantastic bounce back season. He's already made 19 starts. That's the most he's made in any single season since 2019. So that's got him not really in the mix for the Cy Young, like a peripheral candidate, just because it's very clearly Skubal number 1 and then Crochet just behind him as a secondary choice, and then nobody else is realistically going to win. But if the season ended right now, deGrom probably would finish 3rd in the Cy Young voting. The one issue I have with deGrom, and it kind of exists with Yamamoto too, they just have these random blow-up starts that just happen, or times where deGrom is just unable to generate swing and misses. Like he had a start against Toronto, regenerated 0 strikeouts. He had a great strikeout matchup against the Angels 2 starts ago and has 5 strikeouts and gives up 3 runs in just 5 innings. So he does he hasn't been super consistent in terms of upside this year. In terms of run allowance, he hasn't allowed more than 3 runs in any single start since April 5th. So there is a pretty high floor built into DeGrom in terms of like, he's not going to go out and put up like 5 fantasy points and get wrecked in the same way that Yamamoto might. Like DeGrom is some of these starts where he just doesn't generate strikeouts. Yamamoto is some starts where he just gets hit really hard. So anyway, I feel a little bit better about DeGrom in cash games. For tournaments, I also lean a little bit more towards DeGrom, but it's more importantly to me getting more exposure to Gilbert than the other two. It kind of seems like you feel somewhat the same way, although maybe you feel there's a little bit bigger of a gap between DeGrom and Yamamoto relative to what I feel.
Yeah, I have a 12% difference in them right now. I have 37% DeGrom, so I'm a little bit lower than you've got on the screen there. I've got 25% of Yamamoto here at the moment. And I'd be okay getting a little bit more of them. I'd be okay with the gap kind of trimming on them. I'm going to let the Sims tool do its thing. I'm not going to try to override too much. But I will say, like, one thing about Yamamoto that I'm maybe being a little harsh on, he has a 250 BABIP next to Jacob deGrom 233. So, like, you could say that maybe if you're just saying that these are equal, which is what we have projected, and everything else that we're looking at in terms of outs, K-prop, they look very, very similar. If you're going to just say, all right, Yamamoto's had worse BABIP, so less luck there. And then the strand rate for Jacob deGrom, 87.5% next to Yamamoto's 78.5%. So like both kind of lean in the direction of Yamamoto. So even though I might be biased a little bit towards deGrom, there's definite data that's pointing me, hey, Yamamoto's not a bad play. I just might have a preference that is slightly more towards the deGrom side. Oh, great!
Bad time for me to take a sip.
Yeah, that was actually all you, because I was pretty clearly going to end my sentence.
All good. And then as far as the other pitchers that we have on the high end here, there's a pretty big drop off once you get to these top 3 guys, right? There's nobody else from a projection standpoint that's even remotely close. So you'll see here actually in the Sims, there isn't a pitcher who I have exposure to here using just the default settings on the Sims between the price point of $9,200 and $7,800. So there's a $1,400 gap here. There are still some other pitchers on the slate you could consider to pay up for. So for instance, Jacob Miserowski, $10,300. Framber Valdez, $10,100. Do either of them interest you as contrarian spend up options? Because they're 2 and 3% owned.
I love Miserowski today for tournaments. And he is really low owned. He's very expensive. And there are some cost provisions, I suppose. But I think the ceiling is just it's beyond words as far as like how good this guy actually is. I talked about it leading into his first start. I rolled some out against St. Louis. It was in his first start of the season. We ended up cashing the premium Discord as over 3.5 and over 4.5 strikeouts. And then it goes up to 4.5. And I'm like, I'm going to tap it again. We ended up cashing that. And we cashed it against Pittsburgh, I know specifically, before he had the blow up against the Mets, which was a little bit sad. Got into some bad luck there. And then also was walking a bunch of dudes. He had 3 walks in the outing. And then you saw him go against the Dodgers. And you can say what you want about the Dodgers struggling. You can say what you want about the Dodgers being the Dodgers. He was in Milwaukee, which is pretty, hitter neutral with the roof closed. And they actually keep it open most of the time in the summer because there's no air conditioning there, for what it's worth. For the people who know, you definitely know when you're there. But 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers, ballistic. And the important thing, 91 pitches. Now, Milwaukee has played themselves into not just like, they probably went from sellers to buyers at the deadline. They probably played themselves into a position where they're going after the NL Central in a way that I don't think anybody anticipated 2 weeks ago. And now I think the leash is probably there for Miserowski, whereas before it was probably like, hey, we want to take a look at like our number 1 guy out of the, in the arms department as far as prospects go, our top guy. And he has only delivered in terms of like how good the stuff is. And the Mets, that was one big hiccup, but he bounced back in such a big way. I think coming off of the All-Star game stuff, I mean, he did pitch a little bit there. So it's been a week for him still. I just think that the stuff is ridiculous. 99 with 93 breaking stuff. I mean, he's an unfair creative player, Greg. And I think in 6 innings, 92 pitches, you could still find double-digit strikeout equity for him, and nobody wants to click it, so I will.
Yeah, I mean, relative to the ownership, if you're looking to be contrarian on the high end, I definitely think he is the guy. I do have some concerns about how deep he's going to be allowed to work into games. We actually got that question from Einsteinium in Discord. He says, can you explain the Miserowski projection, considering the circumstances around the Brewers now, best record in baseball as opposed to when he was called up? Shouldn't he projected to be going longer than 5 innings? Maybe. I mean, like you saw what they did with Woodruff was excellent last night. And it was something you and I talked about a little bit as well, Eric, which was what can we possibly see for a pitch count from Woodruff? And what ended up happening is the pitch count was insanely low. He was so efficient, but something that we did talk about as being a potential issue is how many times, no matter what the pitch count is, are they going to allow him to just go up and down in between innings? Because I'm just going out. He finished with like 70 pitches in 6 innings. And they were just like, yeah, but we're not going to let him go a 7th inning because we want to limit his innings a little bit. So far, what we've seen from Miserowski is he has pitched 5 innings, 6 innings, 5 innings, 3 2/3 innings, 6 innings. I definitely don't think you could expect more than 6 innings from him, but I also wouldn't project him for 6. I actually think somewhere between 5 and 6 is probably what the expectation should be. And I would be really, really surprised if they let him go into the 7th inning. And then you can't just project him for his ceiling of innings. If we think there's no chance they're going to let him go into the 7th, you can't just flat say, well, he goes 6 innings then. It's probably somewhere between 5 and 6 innings, kind of similar to like what we saw with Woodruff as a ceiling, which is why I do think that it's somewhat unlikely that he outscores guys like DeGrom, Yamamoto, and Gilbert. But relative to his ownership, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I think it's worthwhile to take some shots on him. So to answer Einsteinium's question, should he be projected for more innings? I'm going to say no, not really. But the stuff is so good. I mean, he just struck out 12 Dodgers in 6 innings the last time we saw him make a start prior to the All-Star break. So even in 6 innings, he could end up doing some damage. I still prefer the chalkier options to him, but I like Miserowski relative to what his ownership projection is.
Yeah, to be fair, though, I think it had more to do with game script than anything else for why it is that they decided to pull him after 6. They hung a 4 spot up in the 6th inning. He goes down, he closes it out for the rest of it. And I think they probably looked at it as an opportunity, knowing that they've got one of the best bullpen arms in probably the best bullpen arm in baseball outside of your boy, Aroldis Chapman. Tyler McGill has really stood out as a unbelievable closer in baseball this year. If you haven't paid attention, Fangraphs has him ranked number 3. That's his power rank right now. He is unbelievable. We know Abner Uribe has been incredible year after year after year. He's actually kind of struggled of late over the course of the last like 2-3 weeks, but overall, really, really good. I think what happens is you get some of these teams that really like to play the platoon stuff. Seattle specifically is definitely one of them. You make them switch out by putting out a lefty. And considering Koenig had worked back-to-back days on Friday, Saturday, they probably looked at it, hey, we're up 4-0. Let's get Ashby some work, somebody that, didn't really work for them as a long or, as a starter. He was a highly touted starter, somebody who had a ton of strikeout stuff when he first got called up. And then that kind of disintegrated away. It was a great opportunity, low leverage for them to let him go in, get some strikeouts, and then close it out with Grant Anderson. Anderson won't appear today, but they have DL Hall and they have Jared Koenig available from the left side today. They're going to appear at some point today. There's just no way that you don't play the platoon game if you're an advanced analytics team in that 7th inning. So like the chances of Jacob Miserowski getting to a 7th inning is like 0, like legitimately damn near 0 because of how Milwaukee likes to play the platoon game. And they're going to do it with Polanco, Canzone, Rayleigh, and it's set up so perfectly for them to be able to do it. So he'll get like 2.5 turns through the rotation, and you're just looking for him to hit it like with a 50% K upside. So like 10 strikeouts in 5 or 6, that's the upside, but it's there with a guy like this kind of stuff.
Do you think he's going to end up being higher owned than the 2% ownership projection? Yeah. Clearly, he's not going to be lower owned. How contrarian do you think he's actually going to be? Because, if he's only going in one direction relative to ownership projection, it's going to be a little bit higher. If that's the case, who could the ownership possibly come from? Or do you think he just will be 2 or 3% owned?
No, I think he'll be north of 5%, but maybe not crazy because 10-3, it's a guy with workload concerns who really has no 100-pitch ceiling. Like there's just no 100-pitch ceiling. But the fact that they played themselves into contention, I don't know what to make of his pitch count today, but I do think it's probably higher than most people are projecting around the industry. And I would say that we have one of the more bullish stances on him. If you just look at like the top pitchers tool today, it was something that I was pretty encouraged by, seeing like 16, 17% throughout the entire day. And we've kind of stood pat with that. He's got the most leverage by far of any pitcher on this slate. The next being 6% Framber Valdez, who is right in that same tier. But then you look at his strikeout, his K prop, 4.5, 5.5. These are not normal Framber Valdez spots. So Arizona been pretty strikeout immune against lefties and a pretty spacious ballpark. So Framber doesn't get the kind of like, the hard hits that turn into doubles and triples as opposed to singles and doubles. And that's a little bit problematic for a guy who gives up hard contact like Framber. So I understand why the industry and why the marketplace is the way that it is. And I agree with it. But I mean, it just comes down to pure stuff. And there's nobody who has the stuff of Jacob Miserowski on this slate and probably in baseball outside of like a Skeens.
Chase Hold'em wants to know, do we talk about the Coors weather? Not quite yet, and definitely something I'm keeping my eye on. So here's what we have for rain around the start of the game. We're looking at about a 50% chance of thunderstorms at the start of the game, and that's what it's going to be for the next 2 hours after the game is expected to start, and then the weather gets clear later on in the night. So does that weather end up lingering? Does it hit at all? It is definitely something that is a little bit of a concern. For now, I'm not making any kind of like drastic alterations. I'm already not planning on playing the Coors Field game in single entry. But yeah, for now, it's just something that keeping my eye on, monitoring. It might even be one that we're going to have to keep an eye on post-lock. We might not know what the weather situation is going to be until right up until the game starts. And yeah, it could be one of those situations, Eric, where run everything as is, and then should stuff start to look dicey as the game's about to start, maybe like 10, 15 minutes before the start of the game, run everything through the late swap tool and maybe pull the game or minimize exposure to it. But yeah, as of right now, I would say that probably going to play, but it's not entirely safe at the moment looking at the weather report. Like I said, 50% chance of thunderstorms the first couple of hours scheduled for the game. But what are you going to be doing with Coors Field?
I'm going to be playing it right now. Obviously, these storms, I brought it up last night on the show. I said that there was a lot of rain, and that was the thing that kept me from like full sending Freeman and Moniak, because stolen bases against Eric Fetty, that's a confirmed thing, everybody. We're going to continue to roll it out until the day he's out of the league, which might be sooner rather than later. So we need to do it now. But I definitely am a little bit worried with the cloud cover. I was worried about it last night. I'm worried about it today, looking at some of the weather spots that we all go to, and google.com. That's a pretty good one as well. I can't do anything about it right now. And they play an afternoon game, and there is a baseball game for Thursday for the Cardinals. So there's a little bit of need to get this game in, and hopefully they can be patient for it for St. Louis. I wish it was Colorado playing on Thursday as well, so they'd try to keep it intact. Not that Colorado's worried about winning baseball games, but St. Louis for sure is. And the fact that St. Louis plays on Thursday, I'm sure that they'll at least give some urgency to get this game in, so they don't have a doubleheader leading into a Thursday standalone game into games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Padres, because that's what they've got in store.
We've got a super chat here from News God. He wants to know, can we get the Lotion play graphic up just for fun? Yes, we could. No. I think there's something we can attach to this as well. So, Eric, Lotion play of the night. I think that there's no better time to bring this back than on a baseball slate where we've got chalky pay-up options and just nothing that the field is really gravitating towards alone. Like, yeah, there's some people are playing Max Scherzer, some people are playing E-Rob, but not with any kind of real regularity. So I want to know from you, we're both going to have to do this here. If you have to pick one pitcher to roster who is sub 9K, what direction are you going in tonight?
He's my third highest owned pitcher. And I want to give a shout out to, let me find it, SMP, because he and I are thinking very much the same. If Frankie Montas is going to be 6% owned against the Angels, while Scherzer is going to be 18% against five lefties and Aaron Judge, I bet Scherzer. I like Scherzer in terms of his over 5.5 strikeouts, but he's already popular. I love the upside for Frankie Montas. Now, Frankie Montas is not my general style of pitcher, but it's an Angels matchup. I think we can all agree there are strikeouts available. And you might have noticed if you saw Lindy's long balls, there's one lefty that's on it that kind of looks a little bit different. He was plus 1,000, Nolan Schanuel. I bet that to homer today. I think he's in a tremendous spot against Frankie Montas, but that kind of speaks a little bit more towards my point. Frankie Montas strikes out righties north of a 28% clip, and he gets an opportunity to go up against these Angels that are basically all righties every single time. Whenever you're looking at this on a day in, day out basis, it just becomes so easy for me to just basically say, all right, well, you look at the 2025 data, 28.9% strikeout rate against righties, 14% against lefties. He's had no strikeout ability against lefties and an unlimited strikeout upside against righties. That's all you basically get outside of Renifo in the 9-hole and Schanuel there up in the 2-hole. Moncada, I suppose, is now in there as well, batting 6th, but righty and Neto, Trout, Ward, Adele, Soler, Ohapi, and they strike out a bunch, Greg. So I think Frankie Montas is in an amazing tournament spot today.
So he is my answer as well, but in the interest of just differentiating and giving somebody else out to the people, and also none of these guys are going to be present in like 20 to 30% of lineups or anything along those lines. But for me, I'm going to go with Matthew Boyd here. Just going to bet on somebody who at least has had a really good season and the field is not rostering him. We've got Matt Boyd projected for just under 10% ownership right now. Kind of a neutral matchup against the Royals, but the numbers for the year, 2.34 ERA, 3.32 expected ERA. And by the way, also, it wasn't a massive sample size, but when he pitched with Cleveland last year, he was really good. 2.72 ERA, 3.1 expected ERA. He's somebody who, at points earlier in his career, was a solid starting pitcher, but was kind of inconsistent. He'd have some okay seasons and some pretty terrible seasons. But we're now looking at 2 years in a row that he's pitched pretty well. And the strikeout stuff isn't like crazy high or anything, but it's solid at 23.5%. So just in the interest of trying to get exposure to another pitcher who's actually been really good this year, I think Matthew Boyd fits the bill there. Once again, not somebody who I want to have like 20 to 30% of, but just another alternative who shows up in some lineups for me outside of the really chalky pitchers. See somebody you have any interest in?
Yes, a little bit. I've got 8% of him, so I've got a little bit. Nothing, not a lot, baby girl. Just a little bit. We can go to the crib in a little bit. I can show you how I live in a little bit. God damn it, Greg! Stop drinking water when I'm done talking.
I didn't have that much interest in responding to that, though. To be fair on that end, I didn't know. I didn't know how much of the song you were going to do. I didn't know how. Amy's left us a super chat, so we'll answer Amy's super chat. And then we'll look at Discord to see if there's any questions. We'll look at the FanDuel side of pitching, and then we'll be getting over to the offenses in a second. But Amy wants to know, can we give her our tiers picks for today? Absolutely. Eric, let's do some tiers. All right, tiers.
Yeah. Tier number 1, Eric rapping.
Yeah. By the way, I just realized the slate is including the early game tomorrow, so it's going to be a 6:40 lock. I just noticed that when I pulled up the lobby to go to tiers. But anyway,
good to know.
Tier one for me today. Boy, that's tough between Ohtani and Judge, but Ohtani. Tier 2, that is going to have to be Juan Soto for me.
Juan Soto. No. I'm a liar. I'm a damn dirty liar. I deserve all the pain and all the suffering. Ketel Marte.
Okay. Ooh, Ketel Marte against Framber Valdez. Interesting.
Yes, sir. Ketel Marte. How about we look at his splits? Oh, darling. He's pretty good from the right side. It's just,
you look at some of the matchups there, like Corbin Carroll going up against Valdez, Ketel Marte against Valdez, Buxton going up against Yamamoto, and then you got Kyle Tucker against Dick Mountain. That's a good spot. Soto against Hendricks. Obviously, that's a good spot. So kind of just looking at the hitters in better spots, and I like Juan Soto there. But
I don't
tier 3. All right, for tier 3, I'm going to go with Junior Caminero.
I bet Pete Crow Armstrong, but it's Junior Caminero. He gets Martin. Come on now.
Tier 4. By the way, you could pretty easily make Cub stacks in tiers as well. You could go with
Suzuki.
Pete Crow Armstrong in tier 3. You could go with Kyle Tucker in tier 2. So that is one benefit to playing the Cubs there, is you could stack them up. And they've kind of been better about building out the tiers so that it's harder to make stacks as of late. But anyway, for me in tier 3, I am going to at least try to get myself a little bit more exposure to the Mets against Hendricks. So I'm going to go with Francisco Lindor. We also are starting to get some of the lower end Coors Field guys in here as well, like Herrera and Goodwin. I'll go with Lindor against Hendricks.
Herrera's the chalk, and he should be.
Tier 5. All right, so for me in tier 5, I am going to go with Wilson Contreras at Coors Field.
And Eugenio Suarez.
And then finally, tier 6, that is going to be Logan Gilbert for me. We got the pitchers back today.
Logan Gilbert, he is by far the best. Again, the floor that he provides you, and think about the distributions. The hitters are going to be the thing that obviously have a crazy change there. Eat the chalk at pitcher more times than not in MLB tiers, and you'll be happy.
And we've got a super chat here from Michael Wynn. Michael Wynn wants to know any insight on Schlittler. So this is somebody who Eric liked a good amount for his first start in the big leagues. He is not pulling a ton of ownership today, just 2% projected ownership going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. Eric, any thoughts on Cam Schlittler, who clearly is tremendous stuff? You guys watched him pitch in his first outing. He was throwing like 98, 99 miles per hour. Didn't go super deep into the game. I do think that's going to be a little bit of a potential issue for him going forward, is how deep are the Yankees going to allow him to pitch, but had really good minor league results, had a really good profile as a potential DFS asset as well because of the amount of strikeouts he was generated. Is he somebody that you're considering at all for tonight?
0 in DFS, but I did that. So I said I couldn't just bet Rich Hill alone because otherwise I felt like I would have to go to church tonight or something. Shout out going to church, I suppose, on a Tuesday. But Rich Hill, I combined with Schlittler and I combined with Burns for a 3-piece parlay that I thought you could use on NoVig. You could get something close to it on Prize Picks or some of the pick'ems as well. It ended up just being better priced to do it over at NoVig. So that's where I ended up playing it. But I think he has unbelievable stuff. He had arm soreness, and that's the one thing that gets me a little bit worried here. Boone been pretty good at, with some of these younger arms, not pushing them too much. And obviously it's not a great strikeout matchup against Toronto. So I have 0% in DFS, even though I absolutely love the stuff. 99 and a ridiculous slider off of it.
Tough strikeout matchup against the Blue Jays as well. One big difference about this start compared to the last one, he's more expensive now, and the matchup is more difficult going up against the Blue Jays opposed to the Mariners. So there's just other pitchers I prefer for the slate. Overall, he seems really interesting as a prospect. I think he has a really high ceiling. But for me in DFS today, not somebody who I'm going to be looking to roster. By the way, shout out to Chris Williams. Chris has gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. So Chris, haven't seen you in the YouTube chat there for a second. Nice to see you back. Hope everything's going well over at Apple. And thank you for supporting the channel. For everybody else who wants to support the channel, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video. That's something that, really, really does help. Even if it might seem like a little nominal thing, it helps us out in the algorithm. Sign up for any of the packages we have at Stokastic, or take advantage of our link join offer. Any of these partners, you guys sign up here on screen using the link down below in the YouTube description box. You'll get yourself 1 free month of Core Sims access. Want a parlay? Mention at the top of the show. The deposit bonus offer, $250 match deposit bonus offer. So you put in $250, they're going to give you $250, and then that's also going to come with a free month of Sims. You don't have to deposit that much. You can just do, like $5, $10, but it's available for you if you want to maximize the amount of free dollars you're going to be getting from them. And also if you want another way to sign up the link join program, if maybe you're confused by the page or anything like that, DM me on Twitter and I'll help walk you through it. It's something a handful of people have done over the last couple of weeks. So that's also something that is going to be available to you. Discord, Go Tigers wants to know about FanDuel stacker single entry. Cap and Akella asked about a DK single entry. So we'll talk on stacks in a second here. I want to make sure we talk on the FanDuel pitchers before we get over to talking about stacks. So for pitchers on the FanDuel side, here's what we got for ownership. 29% to Logan Gilbert, 16% to Yamamoto, 12% ownership to Erod. Here's what's really interesting to me about FanDuel. Jacob deGrom is only 5% owned over on FanDuel, Eric. So I think for tournaments, deGrom is the guy to look at 5% ownership. For cash games, I'm going to roll out Logan Gilbert. Is there anything else that really stands out to you about FanDuel? It's different from the DraftKings side of things.
Not a crazy amount. I'm with you. I mean, 5% is pretty glaring there, but I understand why it is that we're getting this disparity. I mean, the amount of we didn't even talk about Logan Gilbert really, because I don't think you really have to. He just looks markedly better than just about everybody else on this slate. And at 9,700, where he's $1,300 less than DeGrom, he's $300 less than Yamamoto, he's $700 less than Miserowski, who are, obviously his chances of going 6 relative to the guys I just listed off is drastically lower. I guess the one guy to bring up is Framber Valdez at 1%. It's Framber Valdez at 1%. I think that goes without saying. It's a terrifying matchup with Arizona. Obviously, a spacious ballpark for a guy with a ground ball rate that you generally idolize and feel good about, but it's a very difficult spot. He's 10-7, but he's also 1%, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's also DeGrom's only 5%. That's also such a low number. He is the most expensive pitcher on the slate. Still, though, it's $11K, so it's only $300 more than Framber Valdez, $600 more than Miserowski, who, by the way, is also 1% owned. But with us not expecting Miserowski to go like 7 innings and probably not even go 6 innings, could be a little hard for him to get to the quality start bonus there. But anyway, for me on FanDuel, I'm going to go with DeGrom. You definitely make cases for the other 1% owned guys. The other thing that's really interesting to me, Erod is the 3rd most popular pitcher over on FanDuel. I like the Astros as a stack in general today, but I really like the Astros as a leverage stack on FanDuel if we're going to have Erod as the 3rd most popular pitcher on the slate.
Yep. Don't have any notes there. That's for sure. They just rolled out this lineup. It's got Diaz. It doesn't have Caratini. I'm just kind of going through my notes on this. Cam Smith leading off. That's useful at 3.7K on DK. FanDuel purposes, kind of looking through that a little bit different. But like Bryce Matthews just got done going double dong, 2.1K, 6-hole. Like there's some interesting Houston bats overall that I think you can kind of mix and match. I probably won't have them as a primary a lot, but Cam Smith, Christian Walker batting 3rd today, Yanner Diaz, McCormick, Matthews. I mean, those guys specifically are just showing up a bunch for me.
Yeah, as far as the Astros go, I think it's the best source of salary savings on the entire slate. Top Stacks tool bears that out by a mile. We've got the Astros with a 17% chance to be the top value stack over on DraftKings. The next best team, it's the White Sox at 12%. And that's really just because they're so cheap. Whereas the Astros, it's because they're cheap, but then also actually have a little bit of ceiling to them. And then the Cardinals, just because they're in Coors Field and just a little bit underpriced for the situation. But yeah, I really do like getting to the Houston Astros tonight as a stack against Erod. And that will bring us right into what we're liking for single entry for today. We did get the question from Capanicella. He wants to know if the Cubs are a consideration for single entry. Yeah, I would say they're on the short list for me of teams to consider. There are, let's see, 3 teams that I view as being pretty good options for single entry. One of them is going to be the team that I'm playing in the Houston Astros. Just kind of laid out they're so cheap. And the matchup against Erod is not all that difficult. He has not had a great season. Pulling up his numbers right now. I've also stacked against Erod in some of his other starts. Some of the other ones he was quite popular, like the start against the Royals where he was like 30-something% owned. He's not going to be that popular today, but 5.94 ERA, 4.44 expected ERA, 4.56 FIP. But another thing to add too about him underperforming his peripherals, he has been a guy for his career who has underperformed his peripherals. He has almost always had BABIPs above league average. He has almost always had strand rates above league average. So, by the way, it's not even like the peripheral numbers are great with a 4.44 expected ERA and a 4.56 FIP, but just based on his overall career, we should just expect him to have an actual ERA worse than those numbers. So, I really like the Houston Astros going up against Erod tonight, Eric. That's my favorite stack for single entry.
Yeah, just to give you my short list as well, Tampa Bay for single entry, I think look really good. You get the Whites, Martin followed by a White Sox bullpen. Need I say more? In a AAA ballpark, nevertheless, and the weather looks like it's pretty good there. Everything got updated, getting the clear there. So, I like the idea of Simpson coming off of yesterday, doing absolutely nothing. Aranda, Caminero, low, Mangum even, Matt Tice, 3.2K, fine. That'll be a lot different than Yanner Diaz, who I kind of expect to be mega chalk at 3,300. Von Herrera, bending how the weather looks there. My second favorite is Houston, and thank God they exist, because if there's any issues with my single entry team, the Colorado Rockies, I can move it to Houston pretty simply. So for me, I think Colorado in Coors up against Eric Fetty. I mean, over 15 stolen bases allowed, absolutely nothing. He cannot hold runners whatsoever. You get Freeman leading off again today. There's a reason for it, everybody. Moniak, he runs as well. Doyle runs. There's a lot of guys who have stolen base upside in addition to the power that Eric Fetty's giving up, which is immense. It's Coors Field. It's an under-owned team. So definitely love the idea of Colorado there.
Yeah, so for me, the short list of teams for single entry, I mentioned the Astros, obviously, because I'm playing them. Then you've also got the Cubs. I think that they are a viable single entry stack. The other one I like is the San Francisco Giants. I think that's a team to be going to as well. As far as the Cardinals go, kind of the same thing I'm going to say about them today is what I said yesterday. They're clearly the team we should expect to score the most runs if we're just guessing which team scores the most tonight. But they're going to be too popular for me in single entry to play. Last night, their hitters were like mid 30% owned on a slate. What was last night? 11 games, the size of the slate. And, you know, they were fine yesterday, but if they would have gone off and scored, you know, like 10, 11 runs or something like that, you just would have been competing against a third of the field in single entry. So it would have been even like only half of the people who played the Cardinals would have even cashed. So I just think the easiest path to end up winning a single entry tournament is going to be going by finding an upside stack that isn't the Colorado, not the St. Louis Cardinals in Colorado for today. I don't hate the Rockies. They just didn't quite make the cut for the list of my exposures relative to team ownership. But yeah, Captain and Keller, I don't have any issue with the Cubs. Not the direction that I'm going to be going for single entry, but definitely a worthy choice for single entry on DK. And then we got another question here from Go Tigers 86.
Go Tigers.
He wants to know, Eric. Yeah, I kind of talked over you. I'll let you do it again.
Go Tigers.
There we go. Go Tigers. All right. FanDuel. He wants to know for FanDuel, favorite FanDuel single entry stack. And over on FanDuel, 18% ownership going to the Cardinals, 9.5% ownership going to the Cubs. And there's just no other teams that are really pulling any kind of meaningful ownership. Once again, the Astros pretty cheap over on FanDuel, projected for just under 5% ownership as a team. You've also got Erod being the third most popular pitcher on FanDuel. I like the Astros a whole bunch on DraftKings. I actually like them even more on FanDuel though, Eric.
Yep, they look phenomenal.
Yeah, so that is my preferred single entry stack for FanDuel there, Go Tigers. And now let's open this up to talk about some of the other stacks that you and I are going to be prioritizing for the day. Kind of tipped off a little bit when I went over the three teams that I think make the most sense for single entry. But then also I want to know, for large field tournaments, with all the ownership going to the Cardinals, what do you make of them in large field GPPs relative to the amount of ownership they're pulling?
They're just
so if I go and switch over to the Sims to just the stack exposures, you guys will see for 5-man stacks, 28% of the Cardinals. So about a quarter of lineups with St. Louis. I do think they look quite a bit better in large field GPPs as compared to smaller field stuff.
Yeah, we said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. They're too cheap. They're way too cheap. And it's really hard in large field when you're building out, because again, you're trying to build the best portfolio of lineups you can. It's very different than trying to build the best individual lineup where ownership on that specific team gets nuked. It happens every single time in single entry. Without fail, people just feel better and more secure when they get the team right somehow. And the team you're going to get right more times than not in single entry today is St. Louis if you click on them. But does that make them good relative to their ownership? No, it does not. And that's where in large field, just mixing and matching these guys with secondary stacks that you like, with secondary one-offs. I mean, Ohtani, just another day ending in Y, where I'm just going to play a gobsmack of Ohtani as a one-off. I think that there's a number of guys from the Cubs. Suzuki's 5,100. I think that's too cheap for the guy leading the NL in RBIs. I think in all of baseball in RBIs. Pete Crow Armstrong back in that lineup here today after one day off with the knee contusion. 5,600 contrarian there. Just looking at like one-offs and guys that I'm like boosting a little bit just to get a little bit different. But in large field today, St. Louis, I've got 25% of them. They're my highest owned 5-man stack.
So people asking about the weather in Tampa Bay. There's a chance of thunderstorms for today, but nothing persisting. So it's like a 15 to 20% chance of rain throughout the night. Even if it does rain, it would probably only be a pop-up storm. It's nothing that I think you have to, like pull that game from your lineups or anything like that. Is there a little bit of risk involved? Maybe, but not anything that's super significant. Do you have any weather concerns in Tampa Bay?
No, I mean, always, because it's summer in Florida. Florida's already a dumb place, let alone now you introduce random storms for no reason. I guess I like Miami a lot, but that's neither here nor there. I love my wife.
Kind of unrelated. I find it interesting that Miami is not a bigger baseball market. Like, you just think about all of the Latin population that's there, and then Miami is a big city. Like, it's considered a big market for NBA purposes, but baseball, where you would think just because of the demographics of Miami, more people would like baseball than basketball there. It is. And also kind of thought of as a team that's like low budget because it is to an extent because they don't spend a lot of money. But they've won, 2 World Series in the last 20 years? It's pretty crazy to me that Miami isn't a bigger attraction for baseball.
There's a number of different factors. One thing is it's a pain in the ass to get around Miami. Having been there with RenPack for the FanDuel World Basketball Championship deal, it is not the most conducive city to like being able to maneuver around. And, like they have the basketball stadium right there next to the water. And then the baseball stadium's like more inland, and there's like a long drive to the casino. Like, there's so many different sections of Miami that kind of make it difficult. And then you go to like South Beach there, it's like separate from it. And there's like one road that goes out to it. So it's kind of a pain in the ass as far as it. So also, if you walked around Miami and saw talent, there's probably less interest in going to a sporting event than going to a club. I understand that.
It doesn't impact football. It doesn't impact basketball, though. And you look, too, once again, just because I pulled it up right here, the Hispanic and Latino population of Miami, 70.2%. That's typically people who prefer baseball to basketball or football. But for whatever reason, Miami has just been
Don't you also become a little bit... I mean, the tough thing about baseball is whatever your ownership decides to do is what they're going to decide to do. They're going to spend as much as they want. And some ownership groups just have control of a team and refuse to spend. And I think Miami is probably one of them, just based on what I'm looking at.
This is a very, very important message for a variety of reasons. Where is it? Where'd it go? Why can't I find it anymore? Oh, here it is. Here it is. All right. So green check mark. I take great issue with this message. Were you carrying Ryan's luggage? That is not how RenPack spells his first name. It is Rayen.
Yep.
Rayen, not Ryan.
Correct.
Nothing else is wrong with it, but just want to let you know that. There we go.
No, I'm more than happy to. He had very expensive luggage. I looked fancy carrying it.
They thought that you were the hardest working bellhop in the city.
I'm pretty sure that RenPack and I walking around Miami, we were the cutest gay couple you could have found anywhere in South Beach. Everywhere we went, because he always, for those who don't know, my friend Ryan dresses to the nines everywhere he goes. He looks super classy. I'm a South Dakota boy who is currently wearing a t-shirt and swim trunks to his place of employment. So like, that ain't me. We'll put it that way. I'm not that guy.
Are there any stacks that you're looking at for leverage? So like for FanDuel, I think the Astros definitely make sense for leverage, to a lesser degree on DraftKings, just because there's some ownership that's going to E-Rob, but he's not like crazy popular or anything like that. Are any of the chalk pitchers ones that you're considering stacking against to get leverage today? Because they are all going to be really popular.
DeGrom a little bit. So I'm not going to do it with primaries, but this is just an undeniable talent in Nick Kurtz. Like, I refuse to not have Nick Kurtz involved in my portfolio of lineups on any given slate. Yesterday, he was in my single entry lineup. I'm very happy about such things. Jacob deGrom is ridiculous, but when Jacob deGrom's ridiculous in general, he's still given up some power to lefties, and there is nobody at first base playing baseball right now who has as much power as Nick Kurtz. And I know that sounds nuts to say, but you look at his bat speed on StatCast, you look at his hard contact profile, he's ridiculous. Is he going to strike out a bunch too? Yeah, but a lot of really good baseball players do. Pete Crow Armstrong, Aaron Judge. Like, I think that there's specific guys that I want to do. I wish Valdez was pulling ownership, but obviously he's not, because people can look at implied totals and know very well that Arizona is expected to still do stuff against Valdez today. Yeah, I can't imagine that I would stack against Gilbert. Can't imagine that I would stack against Miserowski. Yeah, it would probably end up being DeGrom if I had to. Yamamoto, obviously I beat the drum against, and now you can say why it's my Twins.
Yeah, for me, it's just, they're just not popping up in the Sims, any of these teams. If I had to go with one stack for leverage, though, it's going to be the Yankees for me, because Scherzer is the fourth most popular pitcher over on DraftKings.
Okay.
He's in his 40s now. It's the Yankees offense, a ton of firepower there. So that's the one to me. It's DraftKings specific because Scherzer isn't popular over on FanDuel. So for FanDuel, it's a little more Astros. For DraftKings, it's going to be the Yankees going up against Scherzer. That's the direction that makes some sense for me for leverage over on DK, because I don't know about you, but I am not really getting to a popular Scherzer today.
No, I'm not getting to him because Frankie Montas exists, and I just feel markedly better about him. I bet Max Scherzer, but Max Scherzer's a fly ball pitcher taking on the Yankees, and the Yankees rolled out a lineup that is not very helpful for Max Scherzer. They did throw Stanton in, which surprised me a little bit, but Judge, Stanton, Volpe in the 9-hole, those being your righties, like, you could do a lot better than that. That's for sure. Grisham, Bellinger, Chisholm, Rice, Wells, Vivas, like, this is not a great spot to be Max Scherzer. They have a 4.5 implied run total. So yeah, I guess when you're throwing him into the equation, I just thought it was amongst the like most popular guys in the A's. They have speed, they have power. Like, I think there's still a case like at their positions, and the prices aren't completely out of control, although it's way too much against Jacob deGrom here today. But I was just talking about specifically the top tier pitchers. Yeah, Scherzer against the Yankees, that's the best leverage stack, I would say, overall, no doubt.
All right, let's build some lineups here. Now, if you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you do sign up for any of the packages here at Stokastic, you are going to get access to our single lineup sims that Eric and I are going to build some lineups in right now. I will build lineups for DraftKings as well as FanDuel. Where do you want to start here, Eric? We'll go with the DraftKings lineup. Which team do you want to be stacking? Do you want to build out your Rockies stack first?
Now, let's not do that purely because the weather, and I don't want it to be the thing that people take away if they're not paying attention to and they set it and forget it. So let's go to Houston.
All right, so we'll build a Houston Astros lineup. I also want to try a Yankees lineup to see how that ends up projecting out. But
let's do it.
For Houston, so the other thing too, Houston is so absurdly cheap that
it's stupid.
It kind of just makes the most sense to play the guys from Houston that are projected the best, and the price point doesn't really matter all that much. So that would be Jose Altuve, Christian Walker, Yanier Diaz, Cam Smith, and then Chas McCormick for us. So that's also the 5 hitters at the top of the lineup. So, all right, if we go with those 5 and then complete the lineup, let's see who gets filled in around it. DeGrom and Gilbert at pitcher. And then the Cardinals hitters ended up showing up as well. So Ohtani, and then you got Segis, and then Mason Wynn. So let's see how this looks when we run the simulation. And settings I put this on for: large contest and 25% to first. And ended up coming out looking really good. 55% sim ROI for this lineup. So, all right, good looks there.
Yep.
Let's try Yankees lineup.
Yeah, let's take a look, because this one's going to be
lineup
a little bit stranger how we're going to go about this.
All right, so if we look at the Yankees, let's go points per dollar. One thing that is definitely a little bit of a hang up with the Yankees is that they're really expensive, and we want to be generally paying up for pitcher today. So with that in mind, if you see, we just sort here by points per dollar, it's almost all the Blue Jays side of the game in terms of the top guys. And I don't know about you, but I'm not thrilled to roster out Vivas tonight or anything like that.
No.
So instead, we look at, there are still some reasonably priced hitters, like Trent Grisham is What is he? $3,800. Stanton's $3,700. Wells is $3,400. So I think those are all cost-effective options we could use to stack up the Yankees. Who do you want to go with for the other two hitters in the Yankees stack?
Probably want to go. You know what? Let's do Volpe. 9. Let's Bellinger and Chiz. Let's go Jazz.
So we got Jazz at second base, and then Volpe at 3,400.
Yeah, it was either that. I mean, Ben Rice looks awesome too. First base, 4,100. We could play him next to Wells. Let's do that. Let's do Ben Rice instead. Let's do Ben Rice instead of Volpe. Yeah,
we'll go Ben Rice, and then we'll open up the rest of the pool, complete the lineup. See what ends up getting filled in around the Yankees. Still got to Gilbert and Yamamoto as pitchers. Sagis again at third base, and then we've got Tovar and Mickey Moniak. So some Rockies exposure here to fill out the lineup. Let's run the sim. Let's see. All right. Ended up coming out fine, 23.4% sim ROI. Not as high as the Astros lineup, but still ended up okay there. So now let's build out a FanDuel lineup, and then we'll do our home run picks and wrap up the show. So, guys, think really hard about your home run picks because we are going to build out a FanDuel lineup,
Olsen.
and then Eric and I are going to do our dong picks.
I bet Matt Olson, so that's fun.
I'll bet you that Tom Olson likes him to homer today as well. What stack do you want to make for FanDuel? We've already done an Astros stack. We could do another Astros stack for FanDuel, or we could do something else.
Let's do for FanDuel San Francisco. We talked a little bit about them. I think they look a little bit better on FanDuel than they do on DK ever so slightly.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the Giants. And who are your favorite hitters to be rostering from San Fran tonight?
Yeah, so Matt Chapman is 3,200 over there. Willie Adames is 3K flat over there. Those are your auto clicks, I think, in that stack. I mean, they're just not expensive at all, and they're outside against this Daniel fellow instead of in San Francisco. Same exact reason that I stacked them up yesterday. Let's go to – I don't want to go Yastrzemski because I do think there's a chance he gets ripped out of there. Let's go to
Devers.
Yeah, Devers for sure. 3,600 for Devers.
We'll go Jung-Hoo Lee and Devers then.
Yeah.
And this will be our four-man stack for the Giants. And then we'll fill out the lineup. It's probably going to give us Coors Field guys. Gilbert at pitcher. Yeah. Wilson Contreras at first base / catcher. Jose Caballero at second base. We got Chandler Simpson in the outfield. Oh, you know what? I actually like this. We got a 4-2-2 stack. Ended up working out pretty nicely. Yeah.
Love.
All right. So let's run the sim now. And then it'll be time for home run picks. Just going to double check to make sure there weren't any questions we missed from Discord. And nope. Nothing at the moment from Discord. So let's see how that lineup comes out. Pretty solid, 31.7% sim ROI. All right, all the lineups we built out today in the single lineup sims projected pretty well. So if you guys want to use this tool for yourself, go ahead and sign up for any of the packages we have here at Stokastic. But Eric, it is time for dongs. And of course, YouTube chat, let us know who you are picking to homer today, because we're going to start reading off some of those. But for you, Eric, who are you picking to go yard today? Who's the pick?
So we're just going to go up against Eric Fetty. This is weather pending. Please, 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 please pay attention to weather. I'm not your parent. I want to do the best I possibly can. I can only tell you what I'm going to do. Hard? I mean, it's amazing when stuff actually goes wrong or something, how big of an idiot you are. And it's just like, well, look, I lost more than you did, but let's see. Ryan McMahon, I just find him, in the 5-hole. I mean, it's him and Moniak. I love the lefties here. Those two guys specifically just look ridiculous. Eric Fetty, he must pay for the sins of his family, and that is what he shall do here. He's an idiot. He spells his name Erick. I don't even understand that. And he has a 212 expected ISO against lefties and just a 13.7% K rate. Not that he's good against righties, 180 expected ISO, but the launch a little slightly bit better against lefties as well. So let's go to Ryan McMahon. By the way, right. I hit Willie Adames yesterday for all of the people betting and DFS. You're welcome.
And he was in my single entry lineup where I was briefly live to win the 2-2-2 yesterday, but Jacob Lopez, after a strong start, kind of fell apart in that 4th inning. And then, then there was also guys like Brandon Woodruff that put up big starts. So had Willie Adames, definitely had some good looking lineups yesterday, did well in the high dollar stuff, but no massive cashes. But Willie Adames definitely played a role in me making some money last night. For today, but I really feel obligated to go to one of these Houston Astros hitters. And
I bet Matt Olson. That's important. Matt Olson.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Christian Walker. I was kind of contemplating Christian Walker. Do I go Cam Smith? Do I go with Jose Altuve? But I'm going to go Christian Walker for my home run pick for today. It does appear that Tom Olson has picked Matt Olson to homer today.
Shocker.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have. Yeah. How many homers does Matt Olson have this year?
I don't know, but it probably directly correlates to whether or not he clicked him, I'm sure.
All right. 18 homers. So we are probably 100 days into the baseball season. And we'll say if Matt Olson is 18 homers, Tom Olson's been right about 18 out of 100 times.
This is the first day I've ever bet him. First day this year. I've bet him 0 times. He was plus 475 this morning. What are we doing here?
See what people got from chat. We've got David Williams going with Pete Crow Armstrong. Andrew D has got Cam Smith. Harlock has got Juan Soto. Ben Willie, he's on my team. He's going with Christian Walker. We've got Comment God going with Chandler Simpson. Yobo Goodgreens has got Bobby Witt. We've got Jose Ramirez from Brett Shoup. We've got Loyal African going with Aranda Encaminero. NY Steagle's going with Jordan Beck. The Thunder has got Aaron Judge. Eric 20 has got Juan Soto. Malukar's going with Springer and Trout. Tripp has got Mauricio Dubon. Duckman has got Eugenio Suarez for 2 homers tonight. Green Checkmark is going with Pete Alonso. Sotex has got Ketel Marte. Fact 74 also. In a line with me, going with Christian Walker. We've got Rafael Devers from Sir Dodger. We've got Rich Boy G's going with Mike Trout. We've got Giancarlo Stanton from Comer 310. Neto is the pick from... moved. Where'd it go? Here we go. Neto is from Io Kimbrough. We've got Kurt Suzuki. Seiya Suzuki from... I don't know how long it's been since... A lot of times when people just post last name, it's just like, okay, who's the first name that correlates with this? And for whatever reason, I went to Kurt Suzuki, retired like 4 years ago, over Seiya Suzuki as the pick from Jay Chisel.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Maybe.
I love that guy. I was at one of his last games at Angels Stadium. He was awesome.
Jeffrey Oren has got Helio Ramos. We've got Addison Barger from Saucy Ed. We've got Artful Dodger going with Suzuki for 2 homers. Elliot also is going with, everybody's going with Seiya Suzuki or Kurt Suzuki, according to some, to homer today. Aaron Hines has got Ronnie Mauricio. Dan is going with Ronald Acuna. We've got James Wood from Folkmat. We've got Chris Williams going with Otani and Conforto. Rowdy Telez from Waylon Effin Jennings. Seager is the pick from Tizzle, Maine. Ross K has got Santander. We've got Salvador Perez from Ken Ratty. Altuve from Rich Boys. Jetty's going with Seager. And then Folkmat also adding in Ramirez for today. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're looking for breakdowns of the late baseball slate today, I'm going to be posting those to my Twitter account. Coming up, going to be a breakdown for both the DraftKings and the FanDuel late slates. And last night, it was a good one last night, Eric, because the Sims were recommending stacking against George Kirby for the late slate. He was super popular, and it ended up coming through. Those stacks of the Milwaukee Brewers against George Kirby, that ended up being the winning stack last night. So if you guys want more insights from the Sims for the late slate, go check out my Twitter account. I'll be posting breakdowns there shortly.
Ehrenberg DFS. That's where you follow him, right there. I'm just pointing at it.
Right there where Eric's pointing. Right there. Good luck, guys. See you tomorrow.